Hey peeps! Welcome back to Wealthy Wednesdays. Yes. So we are so excited to bring you this series. We're gonna just dive into so much stuff while we're doing this series. Some of it may seem mundane to some of you because some of you are smarter than others. And I don't want to say that in a bad way, but some of you may already know this. Some of you may not know this. So it's kind of like when you go to church and the preacher's talking. There's some people in the congregation that know the Bible more than others. That doesn't mean they're more smarter or the other ones are dumber. It just means that they're just better educated. Some people have read the Bible from front to cover. I have not. Have you, Fab?
No.
That doesn't make us stupid.
I'm waiting for the audio.
I think it's out on audio. I don't find the Bible that interesting. Like, I'm waiting for it to ever dawn on, I'm like, some people are raised reading the Bible. I was not. I think a couple times my parents tried to get me to read the Bible and I thought it was very boring. I'm sure someday I will read it front to cover, front cover to back cover. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be listening to the audio with you, Fab. But that doesn't mean that we're not Christians, and it doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that it's not as interesting as we'd like it to be. And that's the same thing when it comes to wealth and credit cards and credit scores and bank loans and mortgages and car loans and all that kind of stuff. Some people just don't find it that interesting. The great thing is, guys, over the years, I have learned, not only through just learning, but throughout the years, fun books come out. Like, look how cute these books are. Like, they're cute, right? And when you see something that's cute and it's kind of little, you're like, oh, this looks like something I could read or understand or whatever, buying bonds, I'm like, so some of the, I've just found over the years, it's more fun sometimes when you can find books that are fun, that aren't boring. And so there's going to be quite a few books that I highly recommend as we go through this series that are educational, informative, and kind of fun, So, Fab, you just recently got a debit card, right?
Yes.
Are you having fun with it yet?
Yes. I'm starting to really keep track of my spending, and I notice I spend a lot of money on food. So what I'm going to plan next is to figure out how I can grocery shop, because spending that money 3 times or 2 times a day every week adds up to a lot.
A lot.
And buying makeup. So less food, more palettes.
Less food, more makeup. Well, but you have to also figure out how to eat the right food.
Yes.
And not just go through and get junk food. Yeah. So with your debit card, I'm also assuming that you're learning all about depositing money, withdrawing money, all that kind of thing, right?
So my question is the difference between debit and credit.
Debit means that it's automatically taken out of your checking account. Credit means that it will go out on your bank statement as money that you owe. So some banks your debit card is only a debit card. Some banks your debit card is debit and credit, which allows you to charge on your debit card and pay later. So I don't know how you set that up at your bank.
Wouldn't everyone just want to use debit though? Why is credit? Why do we have credit?
Well, because some people want to pay later. They want that option.
Gotcha.
So it just depends on your bank. It just depends on how you set it up, when you set it up. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I'll
get back to you.
So, but the difference between debit and credit also is a credit card helps you establish credit. A debit card does not.
Oh.
Because a debit card is basically you using whatever money you have in your checking account or your savings account. Okay, so you're like, okay, I've got $500 in there, I can spend $500. Okay? No, I would almost go back and rephrase that, because I would think if you constantly have overdraft fees, then you're going to have bad credit. They're like, this dude cannot balance a checkbook to save his ass. So I would think if you accumulate a lot of overdraft fees, then that's going to ding your credit. So, but a lot of people, like you probably have never established credit yet.
I don't think so.
Right. So you don't pay your own phone bill. You don't pay rent. You've never had a credit card, and if you have, it's probably in your parents' name or whatever. And so you probably haven't even started establishing credit yet. So you probably don't even have a credit score yet.
I'm behind.
Whereas if you did have a credit card, that credit card would already be establishing your credit, because you would either be making the payments on time or paying it off on time, or you'd be behind in payments. So either way, your credit would be getting better or it would be getting worse.
So you need a debit card and a credit card.
Well, and there's some people that just refuse to get credit cards because they establish their credits in other ways. So like my daughter refuses to have a credit card because she doesn't feel that she could be grown up enough to pay it off and not overcharge and not get in debt. So she prefers to just use a debit card. But the way she has established credit is through her car payments. So she has a bank loan with a bank for her car payment. And so that is establishing her credit. So she's not relying on a credit card for her credit score. She's relying on her good payment history with the bank on her truck, which gives her her credit score.
What if you co-sign?
Yes, that's good.
Because I co-sign on my car.
Okay, so you had one of your parents co-sign for you. Right. So because you didn't have credit history yet, your parent co-signed for you to get you the loan. So through those car payments, whoever's making the car payments.
I don't know. I just get in the car and go.
Oh, fab, to have your life. So you have car payments, but yet you're not making the payments. Somebody else is.
Right. I just make sure the payments get paid. I'm like, I send a little text, I'm like, car's due.
Through a co-payment, basically they are trying to establish you credit. So
I possibly have credit?
Yes. Yeah.
How do you find out?
You go through a credit bureau, which there's 3 of them. You go through a credit bureau to find out what your FICO score is. So you're like, this is so much. There's so much to being an adult.
Literally, I wish they were teaching me this in school instead of Christopher Columbus and where he landed. I still don't even remember that.
So basically, your parents were needed for you to get the car loan.
Yeah.
Your parents were needed because you didn't have any credit history at that point. So you didn't have a credit score. So your parents took out a car loan for you with your name on it, and they co-signed for you because they already have credit score. And that credit score based your interest rate that was going to be on your car loan. So, but the great thing is through that, and even though your parents are making the car payments, you're establishing a credit score. You're establishing credit.
And if I build enough credit, I can break away from co-signing?
Yes.
On my own?
Yes. Yes. So I used to have to co-sign for my daughter all the time too because she didn't have a credit score. And actually, let's take that back. She established a credit score through me as I was a co-signer for her when she first got her first car. So over the years and through the cars that we changed out for her, she had a great credit score because she had used me as a co-signer. And through that, we kept up on her car payments, all that kind of stuff. Then one day when she got ready to have twin babies, I paid off her car for her because I didn't want her to be bothered with that anymore. And she went a few years without a car payment. Well, she went a few years without any kind of payment. So her credit score went from like 800 down to 0 because she no longer had a credit score because she wasn't making payments on anything. She wasn't making payments on a phone, She wasn't making payments on a credit card. She wasn't making payments on her truck. She wasn't making payments of any kind. So basically, after a few years, she went to get a new vehicle, and they said, oh, you don't have a credit score. And she goes, how is that possible? I used to have a credit score of 800. And they said, well, you haven't had any payments of any kind anywhere that we can find for over a few years.
So use it can go down?
Yes, yes, yes. So to our detriment, we were like, holy crap. Over the years, we established her good credit, and then I thought I was doing good by paying her car off for her so she wouldn't have any debt, and yet I hurt her in the long run because then she went back to having a 0 credit score. So we had to re-establish again. I had to co-sign for her again. But this last time she bought a vehicle, she actually had good enough credit and everything that she was able to get her car loan all by herself.
Wow.
So yeah, so your credit score can go between 300 and 850. 300 being the absolute worst credit score in the world, where you might as well crawl under a rock or do something to try to really get your credit score built back up. Or up to 850, where over 22% of the world is with that kind of a credit score. About 22% of the people in the world are at 800, 850, which is like excellent credit.
What's average?
Average is between like 550 and 650. That's kind of really average. So I just wrote a couple notes down. People want to know why you need to have a good credit score. Well, shoot, your credit score is used everywhere today. If you want to rent an apartment, the landlord has a right to look at your credit score to see if you're going to be a good tenant or not. If you have a horrible credit score, they're going to go, why do I want him to rent from me? Because he can't even make payments on time. A lot of gas companies and electric companies, they use your credit score to determine your rate. House payments. Say you want to go out and buy a $200,000 house. Okay, depending on your credit score will determine what your interest rate will be. So let's say you have great credit and you get a 5% interest on your loan, and this person over here has mediocre credit and they get 7.5 interest on their loan. The person with the lower interest rate is going to pay a lot less interest on their loan than the person with the higher interest rate. So it's in your best interest to have great credit. So anyways, that's the difference in your FICO score too, is when it comes to paying interest, the person with the better FICO score is going to get a better interest rate on their home or car or whatever than the person with the not so good interest rate. So like I said, it's in your best interest to have good credit because it's used everywhere. I don't care what you do in this world, your credit score is going to be looked at no matter where you're at, what you're doing. Getting a job. A lot of employers have the right to look at your FICO score before they hire you. Because if you have a horrible FICO score, they could literally look at you and go, this person's not even reliable. They can't make their payments on time. They don't give a crap about their credit score. So that kind of tells us a little bit about what kind of an employee they might be also. So today's lesson, guys, is all about credit and your FICO score. I mean, like, it's so important. I don't know anybody in this world that can get through life without, unless you're just, I don't know, maybe out in the country living under a rock or something. But literally, your credit score means everything. Like, and I'm sorry, guys, I was never taught that in high school. I was taught all kinds of stuff, but I was not taught FICO scores and credit and all of that kind of stuff. Were you, Fab?
Nope.
So here you are, 25, and you're just now starting to learn.
Yes.
You know, and granted, guys, you know, some of you might go, hey, Fab's not the norm. He lives a very sheltered life. You know, your parents do take care of you, right? You know, and so with today's millennials, there's a lot of millennials that their parents are still taking care of them into their late 20s, early 30s, because they're like, hey, why do I need to move out? Living here is just fine. Don't have to pay rent, don't have any responsibilities. I mean, like, we're finding, you know, back in the days when I was your age, by the time I was 25, I was already married and having my first child, you know. So back in my days, you know, it was normal for people to get out and be responsible at the age of 18. I remember a graduation present, my parents gave me a set of pots and pans and a set of luggage. That meant get the hell out.
I just got new shoes.
My graduation present was a set of luggage. Here, pack your clothes, get the hell out, and a set of pots and pans so that I could cook. You know? Yeah. So, but with today's millennials, there's more and more people getting, like I said, into their 30s that are still comfortable living at home, and I guess their parents are okay with it too. You know, because you're seeing it more and more. People are getting married later. People are having kids later. So, but anyways, guys, I hope you're going to find that these Wealthy Wednesdays are informational. Like I said, some of you may find it not that informational because some of you may already know this. And if so, don't come on my channel and be hating and going, oh my God, why don't you discuss something that we don't know? Because guess what, guys? Just like there's people out there that know it, there's people out there like Fab that don't know it. And hopefully those people are the people that are going to learn something from all of this and appreciate the information that they're getting. Just like when you go to church. You don't get mad at the preacher because he's preaching something that you already know because you read the Bible. And then there's people out there in the audience that haven't read the Bible that appreciate what the preacher's telling us today. You know, so to each his own. Some of this is going to be informational for some of you, some of it's not. You know, all I can do is do my best and bring you what I feel is important and useful to the vast majority of the people out there. So with that said, guys, make sure you get out there, find me everywhere. I'm growing fast and furious, and I appreciate all your subscribers, all the subscribers, all the followers, and all the people that send their love every single time. I try to read as many messages as I can. I try to respond to as many people as I can. Sometimes it's hard. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to talking to you more about your finances next week. And until then, bye-bye.